Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the moon. The orientation for any moon practice is either calming or steadying the mind. I was kind of thinking this over yesterday and again early this morning about what we're really cultivating here with a moon practice. And essentially, we're creating our own sanctuary that we become ideally increasingly familiar with and have easier and easier access to, so that we have a reliable place within us where we can bring all of our chaotic thoughts and energy and emotions to surrender them in order to experience this calm, settled, regulated way of being. So moon practices, in terms of what they're doing for us on a physiological and psychological level, is regulating the nervous system, giving us more immediate access to the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the aspect of the nervous system that facilitates rest and digestion. And digestion not only of the food that we eat on a physical level, but of all of our sensory impressions, all of our thoughts, all of our feeling throughout the day, or really throughout an entire lifetime, potentially multiple lifetimes. So we need to have that available to us so that we have the opportunity to process what is happening in life, everything that we are taking in, ingesting on every level of our being. As we progress on the path of Tantra, we start to play with more intense, energetic, and spiritual, and psychological, and physical experiences. As the intensity gets dialed up, it's all in the interest of spiritual transformation, alchemy, essentially. But it can be a little bit destabilizing because instability is a necessary ingredient in change. With that being said, we want to have access to that space within ourselves that is eternally unchanging, that part of ourselves that is the witness, that has the capacity to step back and to observe impartially. This is what we are giving ourselves through moon practices. So indulge in that and respect the great significance of it. This is your safe place that you are creating and then bolstering within yourself so that when life or when practice becomes a little bit triggering, overwhelming, activating in a way that might feel like too much at times, come back to this place, even in the midst of a sun practice, in the midst of a fire practice, in the midst of a tantric meditation, in the midst of scrolling on social media, listening to the news, engaging with other humans. Come back to what we're creating, and not creating, but creating access to through the moon. Okay, enough stammering from me. Let's get started. The breath is the key. Smooth, steady, effortlessly full breath. Most of the time balanced between inhale and exhale. Most of the time, particularly in a moon practice, diaphragmatic. Silent, so no ujjayi in this orientation to practice, and seamless. Okay? We may play with extending exhales, particularly toward the end of the practice. We may introduce a subtle pause, an emptying out, a quiet and a stillness at the end of the exhale, but never to induce any sort of struggle or strain. It will always be calming, peaceful, quieting, stilling. If it isn't, then you're trying too hard. So don't do that. Okay, come to your mat. Let's begin in Makarasana. The Makarasana is one of the best postures for helping us become more intimately familiar with breath, because we can feel the movement of the diaphragm as it moves along the contact between the body and the earth. Give yourself a moment to soften the belly and let it rest nice and heavy on the floor. Bring the forearms out in front of you. Maybe cross the forearms and then rest the forehead on the back of the arms. We're going to be here for 3 or 4 minutes. Connect to the breath. Find that effortlessness. And reinstate the natural rhythm of the diaphragm. Inhales and exhales, both traveling smoothly and steadily. Approximately 4 counts in and 4 counts back. Continue to release heavily into the support of the earth. Let the breath become even more effortless. Have 3 more breaths here, even softer. And then bring the hands underneath the shoulders. Bring the legs back in toward one another. On an inhale, let's lift up to the hands and the knees. And on the exhale, round the spine, coming into cat. Inhale, draw the heart forward, gentle cow. Exhale, cat. 2 more times, nice and easy. And then come back to a nice neutral tabletop position and take the spine around in a few little circles. So the pelvis will rotate, the shoulders will rotate. Move 10 to 20% more slowly than you might normally. When you're ready, switch directions. Continue to be mindful of the breath, nurturing that smooth, steady, seamless, and ceaseless flow. Come back through to the center. Let's bring the legs together. We're going to come in and out of child's pose, but with a slight variation to release a bit more through the hips and psoas. So start by sliding your left knee just about 2 inches or 4 to 5 centimeters further back than your right. Inhale here. And on an exhale, draw the hips back for child's pose. You'll probably feel this a bit more in the left hip. Inhale to come back up. Exhale again, draw back a little more slowly to child's pose. Three more times, inhaling to rise gently. Slow exhale to child's pose. And keep going at your own pace. The next time you find yourself in child's pose with this sort of asymmetrical setup, soften into it and just breathe into whatever sensation arises. Make sure that you're supported here. So your hands and your head are either on the ground or on a block, blanket, bolster, so that you're not hanging here. You really want to feel that connection with the earth. On the next inhale, come back up to the hands and the knees. Just switch, so bring the left knee a little further forward and the right knee a little further back, and on an exhale, once again, shift the hips back. In and out a few more times. With each exhale, moving a little more slowly. And soften back into child's pose, slightly asymmetrical setup. Stay connected to the breath. One more breath here. And then inhale, lift back up to the hands and the knees, bring the feet and thighs back to parallel, tuck the toes. Exhale to downward facing dog. Inhale, lightly lower the knees. Exhale, slowly, softly back to down dog. 2 or 3 more times at your own pace. And once you find yourself in downward facing dog again, stay for a moment. Create steadiness in the body. Invite an experience of stillness. Just watch as the body breathes. And on the next inhale, let's lift the heels, soften the knees, look toward the hands. And on an exhale, step lightly to the top of the mat. Feet will be about hip distance, maybe a little further apart, basically parallel to one another. A fairly generous bend in the knees. On the inhale, let's lift halfway. As you do, think about stretching the top of the head forward, but keeping your gaze on the floor. And then exhale, release. Soften the knees. Let the chest rest against the thigh. Let's do that a few more times. Inhale to lift halfway. Exhale, soften and fold. Twice more. Then stay here, bring the feet maybe a little further apart. Really generous bend in the knees. Rest the torso against the tops of the thighs. Release the weight of the head, and then take a hold of your elbows or your biceps and allow the weight of the arms to hang here. Stay with the breath. Good. Release the crossing or the holding of the arms. Root down through the soles of the feet. And on the next inhale, rise slowly, rolling up one vertebra at a time. Keep the knees bent. Stacking the vertebra, drop the shoulder, and let the head get nice and light. Give yourself a moment just to experience whatever there is to experience. Bring the hands towards the backs of the thighs, but just underneath the tush. Take an inhale to lift a little bit taller. Exhale, a little softness in the knees, a little internal rotation of the thighs. Fold forward, let the hands slide down the backs of the legs. Press down through both feet and inhale once again, rise. Nice flat back, knees bent, legs engaged. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise. Two more times. And then once again, inhale, rise. Exhale, Tadasana. Deep internalized awareness. Accessing that safe, quiet space inside of yourself. Bring the feet a little bit wider than hip distance. Soft knees. Just gently shift the hips from side to side. I'll show you what this looks like from the front view. It's very simple. And then take the hips around in a few big circles, just loosening up a little bit more through all the connective tissue in and around the pelvis. Maybe around the lower back as well. Which directions when you're ready. And then come back through to the center. And just give the body a gentle little shake. Try to relax through the major joints in the body. Notice where you're holding on to tension, where the body maybe doesn't wiggle or shake quite so easily. And just send soft, soothing energy to those tighter, stiffer spaces. Good, and then stand still again. Toes angled open slightly, elbows bent, loose fists with the palms facing up. Very simple, very gentle twist. Then keep the head center for a few twists so the neck can get in on that action as well. And then release and come back to the top. On an inhale, let's reach the arms forward to come up. And on an exhale, fold gently over the legs. Inhale to lift halfway. Exhale, soften the knees and slide your left leg back for a lunge. Give yourself a moment to slowly sink into a low lunge. And then stay soft here. Prepare for a twist. Right hand on the right thigh. Take an inhale to lengthen. Exhale, gently rotate the rib cage to the right. Stay with the breath, nice and easy. On the next inhale, let's release the twist. Exhale, shift the hips back, Ardha Hanumanasana, lifting the right toes. Square the hips by just tugging the right hip a little further back. Continue to cultivate length in the spine, and then softly fold over that front. more breath. And then inhale, rebend the knee. Tuck the back toes, and on the exhale, we're going to shift the hips up and back and lower the left heel. If you want to narrow your stance a little bit or shorten your stance, go ahead. Think about framing that front foot. Even if that means significantly bending the knee, that's perfectly fine. Square the hips a little. And then we'll dynamically lift and lower a few times. So with inhale, we lift just about halfway. And with a long, slow exhale, we soften back down over the One more breath like this. And stay in the fold for a breath. And when you're ready, gently step back to downward facing dog. And give yourself a moment just to be here. Next inhale, let's lift the heels, soften the knees, and look toward the mirror. And then exhale, step lightly to the top. Inhale to lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Hand to the backs of the legs. Inhale, rise. Exhale, Tadasana. Just notice. Internalized awareness. The senses becoming increasingly invested in the internal world, less so with the external. So let's do that to the other side. Inhale, sweep the arms forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale to lift. Exhale, soften the knees, slide the right leg back. Take your time Slowly softening into a low lunge. Another breath here. And preparing for a twist. Left hand can come on to the left near thigh. Take an inhale to cultivate a little bit more space in the spine. And then on an exhale, gently rotate the rib cage to the left. Breathing. One more breath in this twist. On the next inhale, release the twist. And on the exhale, shift back. Stack the hips over the right knee. Lift the left toes. Draw the left hip back a little further. Cultivate a little bit more length in the spine. And then softly fold over the back. Stay tuned into the breath, allowing the breath to continue to curry you more and more deeply within. One more breath here. And then inhale, rebend the knee, tuck the back toes. On the exhale, start to take the leg straight. Roll your right heel down. Either shorten or narrow your stance if you want to, or try to square the hips. Then moving dynamically in and out of this a few times just to ease into it physically and energetically. Inhale to lift about halfway, lengthening out through the top of the head. Exhale slowly and softly fold. Do that a few more times. It's possible that the exhale is twice the length of the inhale. And then stay in the fold for another breath or two. Make your way back, downward facing dog. And linger here for a few breaths. Calm, quiet, and steady. Pedal the feet a few times. And then inhale, lower both knees. Exhale back to child's pose. Soften into your child's pose. Find a variation of the posture that allows you to be soft, quiet, and still. Rest here for a moment. On the next inhale, let's sit back on the heels. And on the exhale, just rest here. Deeply internalized awareness. Go ahead and find a comfortable cross-legged seat. If there is no such thing in your body, then any seat, whether it's on your shins or your knees or on a chair even. But so in your seat, just start to take the spine around in circles. And then switch directions. And back up through to the center. Just an inhale to lengthen the spine a tiny bit more. And on the exhale, come into a fold over the legs. So whatever that looks like, however far you're able to go, nothing forced. And with the breath, just a few more. On the next inhale, gently rise. Recross the legs so the opposite leg is in front. And we'll enjoy a simple twist here. So inhale to lengthen. Exhale, simply twist to one side. Stay for another breath or two. Inhale to come back through to the center. And exhale, twist to the other side. Nice and easy, just a few breaths. And then inhale back through to the center. And exhale once again, softly fold forward. Accessing within yourself that space of quiet calm, regardless of the chaos that might be swirling around you. Just a few more breaths. On the next inhale, gently rise. Exhale, just soften the shoulders, lengthen the spine. Breathe a moment. And we'll get ready to lie down in Shavasana. Take your time. Come all the way down. Start out in Apanasana once you're there. Just draw your thighs in and then gently rock the knees away from you and back and towards you. And then maybe rock gently side to side. And then enjoy a breath or two in stillness. And release to Shavasana. Put yourself up for comfort. you'd like, you can place the hands on the belly once again. Just feel into the smooth, steady effortlessness of the breath. Continue to rest here for a little longer. If you are concluding your practice for the day with this, then give yourself at least 10 more minutes of Shavasana. If the mind tends to wander, it can be helpful to count the breath backward, maybe starting at a number like 27 and then counting backward from there. If you are transitioning from here into meditation directly, and give yourself at least another 2 or 3 minutes before clicking over to the other link. And then feel free to continue to rest until we begin to chant the prayers. Either way, thank you for practicing. And we'll all see you soon.